All right, good Sunday morning, traders. Let's jump into some actionable trade ideas for the week as we look into what happened last week on SPY. Overall, for the week, it was a decent little up week, almost unchanged on the session. But if you look at Friday, pretty big up day. Wednesday and Thursday, not too shabby, coming off the lows on Tuesday, and came down, filled the gap, bounced higher. However, if we look at the overall SPY here, you're in a pretty solid weekly downtrend still. So if I wanted to, just take a look just at this chart and I look at the internals down here, MACD's just dropping. There's been no sign of a turnaround, and RSI has been dropping as well. So until those really relax and something changes, we are still in an overall downtrend, in my opinion. We'll keep an eye on RSI and see where things go. If we're looking at the daily, well, not too shabby. You've got MACD reversing higher and starting to curl up here. And then you've also got RSI coming off of these oversold levels and moving higher. That's pretty bullish from a daily perspective. So can we get, some, up into here, maybe the 21, the 50 EMAs fill this gap? Certainly very, very possible. But all that would do would give me another lower high and a lower low in this current downtrend that we're in. So until something changes and we can get above this 450 level or so here, which is quite a ways away still, we have quite a ways to get up there. Any bounce here to me would be an opportunity to potentially stay short the overall market. The Qs, a little bit better looking than SPY. So if we're looking at the Qs, just trying to get a sense of where we are. MACD did reverse last week, so it was a strong up week, bouncing off of this 21 EMA on the weekly. So overall, that's pretty decent looking. RSI back up, moving over 55 or moving over 50. That's also very strong. So weekly on the Qs, much better looking, and you can see RSI breaking 50 and the MACD breaking positive as a crossover is occurring right here between the 12 and 26. So you're seeing the MACD moving above its moving average, histogram popping positive, had recovered off the lows. All that's good looking stuff on the daily. Does that mean a whole lot of anything? Not really, but bottom line is tech stocks look pretty good. Overall SPY doesn't look so good. And then IWM looks same kind of as SPY, where weekly looks terrible. Daily might be getting a little bit of a bounce here. Maybe we can come up, hit the 21 EMA, somewhere around 177. Let's see what happens. Some big news over the weekend with Hamas attacking Israel, backed by Iran. A lot of stuff out there on Twitter and the news, and you got to just keep an eye on it. How that's going to affect the markets, not really sure. But my only commentary here is, and I'll keep it non-political at best, is now they've got us fighting on two particular fronts in a proxy war. So we are supplying Ukraine with a ton of money for a broke U.S. government that's going to have to raise its debt ceiling here, where your conservative party, especially the far righters, they're not going to want to release more money to Ukraine. Well, now you got another front to deal with, and that's protecting our friends in Israel. If you're doing it for Ukraine, how do you not give money to Israel in their time of need in a potential war situation where it's Iran and backing Hamas against Israel? Now you're going to have to ask for more money from Congress, and we don't have any. The U.S. is bankrupt. Our debt is ridiculous. So I don't know where this thing is all going to go, but I think that certainly leads to gridlock in the U.S. government. I think we will shut down because no one's going to want to give money to either Israel or Ukraine, and we're going to try to do that. So government shutdown coming. We'll see how Iran and their interaction in this conflict spike, does that have anything to do with oil? Right now, not really, because there's really no oil areas that are in jeopardy. However, if Iran gets a little excited and starts to shut down the Strait of Hormuz and oil traffic, well, that could be a positive for oil prices moving up. And the U.S. already drained its strategic petroleum reserve. I really try not to be political on this thing, but in the dumbest move ever for political gain, we drained our own strategic petroleum reserves. And now with low inventory levels and the potential for oil to rise higher, I really think the U.S. could be in a bit of trouble. So anyway, I think oil prices could go higher. So let's just jump into some charts on things that I want to look at today. And let's just start there. Let's start with oil. Oil's been on a pretty good down move for about a week, week and a half. MACD had rolled over a couple weeks ago here. All good. We saw that starting to happen. MACD just rolling over back here, starting on around 911. And then down here on the RSI, just heading lower since that time frame. Even though we moved higher here, not last week, but the week before, RSI was heading lower. That told you that move had pretty much been exhausted. And in a big way, we tanked pretty good last week. So if we look at the daily charts now, MACD running lower, RSI running lower. We hit the bottom 3 ATR here. We did bounce a bit on Friday in the session. So do I think oil has bottomed? Not necessarily, but I would still consider this 77 range, which is this previous resistance level, to become support, as it was back here in August. And that's also the 20 or the 200 moving average. I like this area for some stability in oil. And I think pressures in the Middle East and everywhere else, low inventory supply in the U.S., I think all of these things are pointing to oil staying higher for longer. How's that? So what would I do? How am I trading that? I think there's a couple things you can do right now. I think a strangle in oil is a pretty good opportunity. I looked at that for our members in the Discord today, so I gave them a strangle. I also looked at a 112 in oil because that has no upside risk. I think that's a really great trade. So we gave our members that trade as well today. So I really think oil may have a little bit more to slide. The weekly looks pretty weak. The daily is weak as well. There could be some more downside. However, I think there's enough things going on to keep oil from getting too awful low. But I think a strangle or a 112 trade in here is perfectly set up, and that's what we gave the members today. I want to take also a look here at nat gas. I'm a little nervous of the trade in nat gas. I think you could look at some other proxies instead of using the actual nat gas futures. But this has been on a pretty solid up move on the weekly and the daily now for about 2 weeks as nat gas has moved higher. So you've moved in 2 weeks from around $2.07 to, or 2.7 whatever, to 3.3. I mean, that's a 33% move in nat gas. I think winter was mild last year. I think the winters are going to be colder this year, according to forecasts. That's going to pump up the price of nat gas. You're starting to see that starting to eke in here. So I think nat gas is another potential trade. I'd be wary right now. I'd like to see some sort of a pullback, maybe down to 3 or the 21 EMA. I'd like to see a pullback, and then I think a 112 trade on nat gas is a good potential trade. All right, now I'm going to get into bonds here, and you know my position on bonds. I've made it pretty clear that I would not be touching bonds at these levels at all. Well, I'm kind of throw an idea out there as we take a look at it. This crazy looking regression channel here. If you take a look at the regression channel that I extended back out to this previous high in there, we've come up, we've touched the top of it. Now we've touched the bottom of it. We're definitely at the bottom of this regression channel. Now, we had a lower day on Friday, pretty significantly lower. MACD is falling on the weekly. RSI is falling on the weekly as well. This is not a great looking chart. Okay? This is not screaming, buy me now. This is screaming, we aren't done going down yet. However, RSI is definitely oversold. Does that mean we're going to reverse? No, but you are oversold. Again, I don't want to buy this thing in this downtrend. However, on the daily, it started to try to recover a bit here, sold off more on Friday. It's oversold. Now, looking at this RSI, if we move at all higher from here, that would be a little bit of an RSI divergence, because this current low that we put on Friday was not a lower low on RSI. So there is a little bit of divergence in ZB here. One of the trades we're taking a look at in our Discord this weekend is a naked put on ZB that's down probably 7 to 8% from these current levels. So I think putting on naked puts somewhere around the 100 to 102 mark might be an opportunity. The reason I like the naked put versus a credit spread or buying this thing, I mean, I would not buy this falling knife that's dropping like crazy. I think that's insane. However, I think if you are considering getting long at some point, a naked put's a way to do it here. We are oversold. Doesn't mean we can't fall further. I definitely think bonds can fall a bit further, maybe 5%, maybe 10%. So I'm looking at naked puts around that 10% down from here as an area to start to put those on. If we go down to that level at 102, 100, or 100, I would be happy to roll those out, a couple months, and I think I would feel comfortable there. But anyway, there's a potential trade on bonds in here. Let's take a look at gold. So what is gold doing? All these charts look horrific. So as we look at gold in here, gold on the weekly, MACD falling, RSI falling, gold looks bad. However, it sold off hard the week before. It sold off last week, but recovered decently on the week. So it's a pretty good candle that's forming in here. So I think you've got to take a look at what that what that is. But you're right now looking at potentially a hammer at the lows here on the candle. I think that's a pretty decent sign on gold, especially if it bounced right off the 200 moving average here on the weekly. So if we zoom into the daily, what are we looking at? Well, we've seen RSI has been creeping up the last session or two, and MACD has been creeping up the last couple sessions, showing that the momentum of this steep move might be running out at this point in time. I like the way RSI is performing here. I think you could put some trades on gold. I've got to, I find a 112 trade is real difficult on gold. They don't look perfect. Gold's a difficult one to do it on. However, we did manage to find one today. So I've got a 112 potential trade on gold that I really like, that I'm probably going to put on Monday after 10:30 or so. We see how the market opens. I also think you could potentially be selling some naked puts here. I think 1800 is a really good level on gold. 1820 is the 200 moving average, okay, on the weekly. I think we're at the bottom of the Bollinger Band. We're way past the 3 ATR. Gold is absolutely overdone in here. Doesn't mean it can't go lower. We know things that can stay oversold for a longer period of time than many people can remain solvent. However, I like it here. I like it for a 112 trade. I like it for a potential naked put as well. So I do like gold. There's two trades on the session. Let's move out of futures now, and let's take a look at some other good potential trades. I've got a scan here that I like using RSI, and I found a couple nice trades in here. So first one I like is AMD. AMD has this falling wedge that's been going on all the way back here since the middle of June when we hit this top. So you've created this falling wedge pattern, and we've stayed nicely in here, getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Bounced off the bottom recently, moved to the top. Okay, And then on this, we moved ahead of the 21 moving average on the daily. And then on Friday, in a big move. Now, Friday's move to me could be just a big outlier move. I want to see if this move is sustainable. However, it broke through this wedge pattern on AMD, and that's a pretty good move. It broke above the 50 moving average. It bounced pretty much off the 21 EMA. MACD is strongly moving higher. RSI is above 50 and climbing on both the weekly and the daily, and the weekly started turning up MACD-wise 2 weeks ago. AMD doesn't look too bad here. And on that note, sorry, I had to take a drink because my voice is going. I like a put credit spread in here. So we've got a put credit spread that we're looking at for Monday, depending on how the market opens after open. Especially if we get any kind of a pullback in here, I might really like that put credit spread. So put credit spread somewhere below this 200 on this previous moving average on the daily, somewhere around, this falling, previous low, sorry, on here. So let's see what happens. I like AMD, one of the best looking charts in here at all. I'm going to skip around here. I'm going to look at Disney, same type of chart setup. So Disney, we've been in this falling wedge pattern for a while using the top back here in February. Disney has been an absolute terrible stock. No doubt about it. Nothing good with Disney in here. And it just keeps tumbling lower in this falling wedge. Now, what we're seeing here on the weekly on Disney is MACD is trying to improve itself. It's just flatlining a bit here, which is good to see, which means the momentum of this down move is starting to really run out of steam. And then RSI never really got to oversold territories, but it is moving higher. So you've got a RSI moving higher on the weekly. You are also up here about 84 is the PSAR reversal area. So if we can get to 84 or so on the weekly, or on the weekly chart, you're going to see a potential PSAR bullish reversal. And you saw that happen on Friday on the daily. So the Friday daily, we got the same PSAR bullish reversal. MACD had been reversing and crossed positive. RSI breaking above 50. I like Disney here, but you got to break this triangle. We got to break Friday's high of 83 or so. So if we can break above that, which would be the 50 moving average exponential, we're already above the 21. I like Disney here. It's getting a little tighter. I think if the Bollinger Bands start to open up on the top here and we get a move, I think Disney could be a nice little short-term trade or potentially longer term. We're looking at a put credit spread here on Disney. So there's another trade. We're going to pop back up here to Adobe. That's one of my favorite symbols. Really like Adobe as a whole, as a company. I think it's a great company out there. We had been messing around in overbought territories for quite some time, dropped out of that with everything else the last week. So now the weekly is a bit bearish, which is my concern. However, we remain well above the 21 EMA and the 50 and the 200, and the 50 is about to cross above the 200 moving average for the first time since October of last year. That's a good positive sign. Any weakness here is a good opportunity, I think, to move higher. Now, we do have a lower low on Adobe on the weekly. We'll have yet to see if we have a lower high. I'm not saying that we're all clear on Adobe, but MACD has been moving higher. RSI is moving higher. You broke back above its 21 on Friday, back above the 50. The 21 has remained above the 50. The 200 keeps moving higher. Bollinger Bands are tightening. I think this thing could be getting ready to pop a bit from here. You've got a bullish PSAR reversal signal here. Again, we want to wait. We have to break above Friday's high, in my opinion. But I think if we can move above those highs, I think Adobe is also an opportunity. Now, the weekly is not as strong. So for me, when the weekly is a bit weak, but the daily is strong, a put credit spread is not my favorite trade. This is a butterfly trade for me. This is a big instrument. this thing can move significant points in a day. I believe on Friday, we moved 10 points already in the day. So from 512 to about 527, about 15 points in the day on Friday, and even a bigger range on the session. So stocks that can move like this, they make really beautiful butterfly trades. So put credit spread's a possibility, but to me, there is a butterfly trade. We do not have earnings. So I think a call fly here is of interest. Low risk, very high reward on a big potential mover. I think this thing can easily get up, 20 points from here if it starts to move. So I certainly think we can get up to the 560 mark. So that's what, 20 to 40 points higher on Adobe. And if we're looking at, oops, let me get the right symbol in. I'm going to pull it up over here. You guys can't see it, but I'm going to pull it up on the trade platform. If I'm looking at Adobe, I might be willing to go out like 19 days, 12 days, something like that. And we'll see what kind of a trade we can get on, but potentially somewhere around 540, 545, if we center it in that area, might be interesting on Adobe. So that's something we're going to take a look at, potentially putting on a butterfly trade on Adobe. And then the next one here, and the last one I want to touch base on today. Oops, I don't know why I just went automatically to Bitcoin, but we'll pull it up off of our watch list. Coin is looking interesting, but you've got earnings coming up. So I think coin's definitely looking interesting here as this thing is moving up solidly. Coin looks good. I think another thing you can be doing, and for many of you, that are playing on the Bitcoin side, Bitcoin looks really good. In fact, I think the good move may have gone already a bit, but I think look on the weekly here. MACD is running higher, RSI is running higher, breaking the 50. I think on the weekly, Bitcoin looks pretty solid here. And on the daily, it's already been off to the races quite a bit. So we've moved up from about 2,600 to 2,800. Big moves on Bitcoin. Bitcoin looks strong. You got the 21 about to break through the 50. You got a bullish PSR way back here. So it's been in a bullish move trend for a couple weeks now. I'd say 4 or 5 weeks. But I still think Bitcoin could have more to go, more to run. So you have Bitcoin. A proxy for that might be MicroStrategy in here for some of you. This is one way I like to play Bitcoin is through MicroStrategy. And then I think over here on coin as well, you just have to be aware of earnings. Earnings are coming up out here on 11/2, but we've got a time. We've got almost a month till earnings. I certainly think we could place something in this range on these. So there's a good handful of trades for you guys to take a look at this week. See what happens. So AMD, oil, bonds, gold, Disney, Adobe, Bitcoin, all very possible trades. Members have the trades on. We give them exact setups. We'll wait and see how things go on Monday. Take a look at these things, guys, and see what fits your trading style and the way you like to trade. Whether you like buying calls, selling puts, credit spreads, butterflies, whatever floats your boat. Okay, look at some of these charts, and you may get some great ideas. If you like this video, click the like button. It could really help the channel here. Subscribe if you're not already a member to what we're doing here. And if you want to see what we're doing over in the Discord, come over and join us in the Mr. Top Tick Discord channel. We're doing fantastic over there, up fantastic on the year and last month, and looking for another great month here. So we'll see you guys there. Enjoy a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.